Hey, Shannon, you can put us on the record.
All righty.
Okay, we're on the record in the matter of Cermak versus Mockridge. Mr. Mockridge, can you hear me?
Yes,
And Ms. Cermak, can you hear me? I'm not showing it. Okay, here we go. Looks like her microphone connection is up. Ms. Cermak, can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Okay,
All right, so we're here on, I believe, Mr. Mockridge's parenting time complaints. Is that correct?
yes, Your Honor.
All right, so let me go through these. Looks like there's more than one. First one is dated February 7th. Ms. Cermak, have you seen these complaints?
I have 3 of them.
Okay. All right, so the first one says, let's just do them one at a time. It's dated February 7th. It says the complaint involves Mr. Mockridge being denied his right of first refusal on February 6th, claiming that he should have had the children from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So let me ask you, ma'am, what was that indeed a snow day?
Yes, it was.
So kids' school got canceled.
Yes.
You, I'm assuming, took the kids to work with you?
The road conditions were bad, so I decided to leave the kids with my fiance. And at that time, I was only working 3.5 hours at work anyways, and I had an appointment right after. His work had called him in, so I told him just to drop the children off at the daycare, and then I would pick them up right after I was done with my appointment.
All right, so in any event, Mr. Mockridge did not see the children on this day?
He did not come here to pick them up or even call.
Okay. Did he know that it was a snow day?
Usually he is informed with the school when they do not have any time off. He knows that all the time.
All right, so let me move on to the next one. May 4th. Well, is this your parenting time complaint, ma'am?
Which one is that?
For May 4th?
For him not bringing the kids back to on the Monday.
Okay, yes, it is your complaint. I see that now.
Yeah.
So per court order, Mr. Mockridge was to return the boys on Mondays to school, so on a normal school day, he's supposed to drop the boys off at school at Monday at the start of school?
Yeah, that was the agreement, that he was supposed to, until if they're continue on going to school, which the COVID-19 situation happened, they're technically still being homeschooled here. So that was the agreement for him to bring them out here to get his extra day to lower his child support.
I got you. So if there had been school, he was supposed to drop them off at school at 7:30 a.m.
Yeah,
There wasn't school, and so he didn't bring them back.
he
Is
didn't
that
bring them back
basically it?
here. Yeah, he didn't bring them back here. I had to go to my work at 2:30 to get them.
You had to?
Yes, I did. And I'm unemployed at the time too. Still am.
All right, so I got you. So you ended up having to drive to work and meet him to pick up the boys at 2:30 that day?
Yes.
All right. All right, and the last complaint, I think, is now back to Mr. Mockridge's complaint. Oh, no, I take that back. Yes, that's right. Looks like two different dates, 3/27 and 4/11. And again, there are claims of denial of right of first refusal. And ma'am, you acknowledge that on these days that the boys, well, let me see. She says on both dates, you took the boys to work and you didn't give Mr. Mockridge a right of first refusal opportunity. Is that accurate?
I don't remember what day that I did bring the boys there, but Mr. Mockridge knows that I bring the kids to my work. And I don't feel that that was the agreement. I don't feel like I don't understand why I can't take them to work. It doesn't say that in the paperwork that I can't take them to work with me. I don't.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure what happened, and then I'll figure out, oh, there is one more, sorry. And the last complaint by Mr. Mockridge is that on, well, it's not clear. Oh, that on May 9th, you were supposed to drive the boys to his residence in Livonia, and you told him if he wanted them, he had to come pick them up.
I don't recall that. I don't recall that because, yeah, I mean, we were texting, and on the text it says, where are we going to meet at? And we met at my work, and I still am driving the hour to my work because that's exactly an hour from my work. It's 25 minutes from his house to my employment. So I don't understand. He knew that I was supposed to, or we were meeting. That's what he said. Where are we going to meet at? I said at my work at 2:30. He did not say anything about me bringing the kids there to his house.
All right. So I think I understand. I don't know that we have a lot of disagreement on the facts. The disagreement is over what's required by the court order. Would you agree, Mr. Mockridge?
I know exactly what the court order says, Your Honor. She
All right.
has to
No,
call
that's-
me anytime that she works for
Hold-
4
hold
hours
on,
or
hold-
more.
All right, well, let me get the order. So I'm looking at a custody order from February 12th. So pretty recent. Let me see what it says. Looks like that was done by consent. So that gives Mr. Mockridge 3 consecutive weekends and gives mom the 4th weekend of each month. And it says he's supposed to bring him to school if there is school, but if there's no school, he's supposed to return them to Leo's Coney Island at 2:30. All right, so what this really didn't contemplate is that the school would close due to COVID-19. And the children would be participating in some form of homeschooling. Is that something that the school does? Or is
Well,
that
Your
something
Honor,
that you would?
Yes.
I've
All right.
had them on 22 school days during COVID-19. 22 extra school days. I've been pulling my weight here. It's something they do on the laptop. It is not called homeschool. It is called distance learning. And wherever there's a computer, they can do it. So they have been
Gotcha.
doing their work on these 22 extra school days that I've had them. So I just assumed that it would be no different on this Monday, that I was not going to wake them up at 5:30 a.m. to drive them all the way to Concord to drop them off. There is no school that day, so I followed the order that says drop them off at Leo's Coney Island at 2:30 p.m., which I did.
God, get him off the screen.
So as to that particular incident, ma'am, did you have anything else to offer?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm assuming you just heard Mr. Mockridge explain why
Oh,
on a day that the boys didn't have school at Concord School,
right.
he believed that they could do their school just as easily from the computer at his home as they could from the computer
Well,
at your home.
Well, they didn't do their work at his home. He took them to his work, which is a shop, and I asked the boys if they had did their homework on that Monday, they said they did not do it. And so that's why I wrote the report, is because they did absolutely no schoolwork. And the teacher, Abel, was supposed to have a teacher conference that day. He skipped out on that. And Noah was supposed to have a conference with his counselor. He had missed that. So that's why I had missed that's why I made the complaint.
I gotcha. Had they done their school duties and had their meetings from Mr. Mockridge's home on that day, you wouldn't have disagreed that at the end of that day, the meeting exchange place would be at your place of employment.
Yes, but he didn't do that.
All right. But according to what he just said, as to many other days during the course of the pandemic, that is what he's been doing. The boys do their schoolwork at his end as opposed to at your end on the days when he's supposed to have them.
Not all the time, because I did ask the boys, and they had told me that that their dad took them to his shop, and they didn't do any work over there.
I have
But even
more
when he,
communi- I have more
All right.
communication with the teacher than any of us. I
All
talk to
right,
the teacher constantly, personally, over the
right.
phone, both the children's teachers. I'm the one who set up the distance learning.
All right, I
I
think
have
I
emails
understand.
from the teachers to verify this.
I think I understand that particular issue, so let's look at some of the other ones now. Let's talk about the right of first refusal issues. So the right of first refusal wasn't in this most recent modification. That's in an older order, I think.
Right, which everything that doesn't contradict that order stays.
Let me find that. That's actually in the final order that was entered back in April a year ago.
Yes, 19, Your Honor.
All right, let me find that. I remember looking at this yesterday. All right, I'm looking at the right of first refusal language. Does indeed give a right of first refusal for any times the plaintiff mother is working and childcare is needed for 4 hours or more. Aside from the occasion or occasions that are part of the complaints in front of me today, have there been times when the right of first refusal has been exercised?
Every time. Every time she calls me.
Okay, so whenever she tells you, hey, I'm going to be working and I need childcare, you've stepped up and taken advantage of the time to have your children.
Yes, I have not said no one single time, Your Honor.
Okay, do you have a rough idea how many times that's happened?
15, 20 times last summer at least.
Okay.
Minimum.
All right.
It's mostly in the summer.
When that happens, do you normally then go and pick the children up from her work?
Yes, yeah, because she's driving this direction anyways. So yes, that's what has been happening, and then I drop them off at her work when she gets off.
Clearly, this contemplates that it happens when she is working and needs childcare.
Correct.
All right, now let me go back to the complaint.
Now there's a third party that she can use to watch the kids. Can I speak for a second, Your Honor?
Give me just a second, because I wanted
Okay.
to look at the specific complaint first. So the issue in this particular complaint isn't whether or not they had a snow day. The issue is whether or not she needed childcare correct?
Yeah, because the school calling me, I don't know her work schedule. So just because the school gives me a recorded message saying there has a school day, I have no idea whether she's working or not. And I have a letter here from the child care, and she admitted they were at the child care until 3 o'clock and she left at 7 a.m.
I did not leave at 7 a.m. First of
That's
All
all.
right, hold on, hold on. So, Mr. Mockridge, you knew there was a snow day, correct? Because the
no,
school notified you?
no. The school
You
had
didn't
my
know,
phone
okay.
number mixed up. I didn't get on
All
the
right,
call list until after this incident.
okay. So you didn't know about this until afterwards. How did you find out about it?
My boy texted me.
He texted you that day and said, "Hey, Dad, we have a snow day today, and we're
Mom
at the
already
child
left
care."
for work. Vince is watching
Uh,
us.
Who's watching?
The fiance, her fiance, a
I got
third
you.
party.
All right. So you're aware that she didn't take the boys to work and but didn't offer for you to come and get them and watch them while she was working.
Correct.
Okay. And normally that's how you find out that she needs, you find out about the right of first refusal when she tells you, "Hey, I've got to work today. Can you watch the boys?"
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's
Okay.
all on her convenience. Correct.
Okay. So, all right. Ms. Cermak, I know you started to tell me about this earlier. I want you to tell me what happened on February 6th.
Well, first of all, the school had called me, and first of all, my work schedule is at 9 a.m. that I have to be there. So I leave an hour before that. So I left here at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. They already had, you know, canceled school because there was snowing really bad. I did not want to drive 50 minutes to with the kids in the car, take, you know, just the caution of it. I didn't want to get into an accident and have them in the car. And so my fiance stayed the night and he offered to watch the children. I was only working 3.5 hours. I have a note from my work stating that's all I worked was 3.5 hours that day. I went to a dentist appointment right after I was done working. This was already scheduled. I already had this all worked out. And if the boys were going to go to school, they were going to ride the bus to the daycare so I could still go to my appointment. I was going to pick them up right after, but it didn't happen. They canceled school right away. And, you know, that's why I left the boys here with Vince. And if, if Jason knew that my son texted him, as he says, then why didn't he go pick them up? Why didn't he come out here and pick them up then? If he wanted to, you know, I just don't feel like I should drive two children. If they cancel school, so obviously the roads are bad. I don't want to drive an hour with two children in the car. It's not convenient. I could have taken them to the daycare, but I didn't want to, you know, take that risk with them in the car. I don't like
Okay,
driving.
I think I understand this issue. Uh, Let's move to the next one then. Okay, and this one the May 4th, we've already talked about, and I understand this issue. I don't need to hear any more about that. All right, the next two incidents are March 27th and April 11th. And these are days where you brought the boys to work with you.
Yes.
Okay, and your contention is if they're at work with you, you don't need daycare?
Yeah, I don't need daycare at all. They're with me. And I've brought them to my work plenty of times. And Jason Mockridge knows that. And he's agreed that he didn't care if they were at my job with me. He just doesn't like my fiance watching them.
Mr. Mockridge, is there anything more you want to say about these two dates?
Yeah, I don't agree with the children going to her work. There's nowhere for them to play outside. It's a restaurant. They sit in the booth. I mean, that's almost a protective services call right there. I mean, you can't let a kid sit for multiple hours in a restaurant booth and expect them to behave themselves when they're 8 and 9 years old. That's not an appropriate situation for a child to be in.
Well, it seems to me I remember her telling me that you sometimes take the boys to work with you. What's the difference?
It's my father's shop. It's 14 acres. There's stuff for them to do outside. They're not cooped up in a restaurant. Their grandfather's there. It's an outside environment. It's something for them to do. They're not stuck in a commercial business, sitting in a booth, expected to behave themselves like that. I have computers for them to go on there. I have TVs to go on there. Like I said, it's on 20 acres. It's a 10,000 square foot building. They have scooters and bicycles there to play with, and their grandparents to see, including myself too. So I think the environment is hands down a 180 compared to sitting in a Leo's Coney Island and expecting to behave themselves.
Ooh.
So, Ms. Cermak, any more that you want to say about these two instances?
Yes, Your Honor. So, like, he describes this shop to be the best shop ever. Well, there's a lot of equipment. The kids are always dirty when they come out of there. And if he has computers for them, why didn't they do their homework on that Monday then? Why didn't they sit there and do if they got access to computers, then they should have did it right there. So I don't.
So what do they do while you're working on these 2 days?
First of all, there's other children that do go to my work. There's other waitresses that bring their children to my work. They eat. My kids wanted to go to work with me. If I asked them if they wanted me to call their dad to have them pick them up, and they said no. They eat all day. They play their video games. They color. They write. They were doing their homework there. So I don't. It's clean. It's a clean place. And there's other children for them to play their video games with too, and they can go outside in the back area, but I prefer them to be where I'm at so I can see where they're at.
All right, I think I understand these sufficiently to make a ruling. And let's look at the last one. So this one is May 9th, and Mr. Mockridge's complaint is that you should have brought the boys to his residence on May 9th. Instead, she told you if you wanted them, he'd have to come and pick, well, wait a minute, hold on. Oh, pick them up at work. So, May 9th was a Saturday?
Yes, week 2. Week 2, she's
And on-
responsible for dropping them off.
Okay, let me get that order back and look at it. And ma'am, your position on that particular date is you didn't work, is that right?
Yeah, I've been unemployed since April or March, actually. I mean, I'm still doing all the driving here, you know?
Well, as I read this provision, it clearly does contemplate that on weekend 2, you would provide transportation, but it also contemplates that you would be working.
Yep.
It does talk about what happens if there isn't any school on Monday. And the reason you're not working, ma'am, is just the restaurant
COVID.
isn't that busy? Yeah.
Well, no, it's because they, they closed all the restaurants down because of the virus, other than carry out. But I waitress. I don't do carry out.
So since they've been doing only carry out,
Yep.
you haven't worked at all?
No, I've maybe worked maybe one day and I've gone up there a few times. That's about it.
Honor, she
I
fully
was a-
admitted earlier she worked 2 days, the days that the children were there.
Well, that's what I was struggling with because that's what I heard. So when's the last time you worked, ma'am?
I don't remember. I don't even know. It's been about, I would say probably at least a week and a half, a month and a half. I don't know what days I worked,
But for the last month and a half, you have not worked at all, period.
Not at all. Yes. Actually, it's going on 2 months.
So is this the first, second weekend 2 under the agreement? The one that we're talking about, the first one in which you didn't work?
I did not work. Nope.
The distance is the same whether she's working or not.
It is not.
Well, it
So
is for her. If she's driving back and forth to work, she's not doing any extra driving. If, as you're asking me to interpret this, even on days that she doesn't work, she still has to drive and meet you at Leo's Coney Island every time there's an exchange. Clearly, this agreement contemplates that the reason you're exchanging at Leo's Coney Island is because she's already there.
Okay, so what if she stops working? Gets a new job somewhere else? The order has to be changed then. She has to file a motion to change the order. She could just quit her job and then what? I get no parenting time?
No, I don't think it would ever cancel your parenting time. The problem that becomes is, okay, how are we gonna do these exchanges now? Since the only connection that what there was with Leo's Coney Island is she was working there.
Okay, I'll pick them up. She can drop them off. I'll go to her place. She can come to mine. Driving split right down the middle.
I mean, that's normally what happens.
Okay.
We don't,
I'm willing to do that.
I mean, one way that transportation gets shared is, one does the drop and the other one does the pickup. Another way it gets shared is there's a halfway point to meet. But with her not working, clearly there needs to be some kind of a modification.
I don't have a driver's license either.
You don't have a driver's license?
Correct. I haven't had one the whole time her and I were together. I haven't had a driver's license in over 6 years. This isn't anything new to her.
So,
Yes,
but
3
when you
DUIs.
do, hold on. So when you are required to bring them and drop them at school, somebody else is driving them?
Yes, correct. My aunt, my 88-year-old great grandma, or my parents,
Yeah.
or if my girlfriend goes, I go with her. Yes. I have a huge family support system here.
All right, so Ms. Cermak, what Mr. Mockridge is proposing when you're not working is that that you share by you driving the children all the way to his location and dropping them at the beginning, and then when their parenting time is over, he has to make sure to get them back.
Yeah,
Does that make
Yeah.
sense to you?
yes,
Does
sure,
that make sense to you?
yes.
All right, well, now let
Goes
me
back
look at
to
the
work next
language of
week.
this. Pardon?
She goes back to work next week.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out,
I already drop them off when they're school every Monday. So I'm already doing half the driving there without a license. So I've been doing my share here. That's what I'm not understanding. I've had 22 extra days. I get 3 more extra days and I have them half the time.
No, you do not.
I'm court ordered 154 days. Plus I've had them 22 extra days.
all right, well, hold on.
I've stepped up to the plate during the COVID.
Babe, will you check the kids?
So it looks like actually this is a pretty easy change. On any day where the exchange is supposed to take place according to the order at Leo's Coney Island, if the mother is not working that day, she needs to bring the children all the way to you. And then when your parenting time ends, you need to bring the children all the way back to her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's no
Yes.
change for me. I'm already doing that. Every Monday, I got to take them to school.
Yeah, but there are times when you're allowed to drop them at her restaurant
When
when
she's
there's
working.
not school. But if she's not working, instead of dropping them at the restaurant, you got to bring them all the way back to Concord,
Okay,
right?
yes, but I'm going to need some kind of schedule, not having a license. She's not going to be able to tell me on Sunday that she's not working on Monday. That's not going to work for me.
No, I get that. Ma'am, do you expect when they reopen that you're going to be back to work on pretty much the same schedule you were before?
Well, I was on 6 days. No, it's not going to be like that just because of the, we're only allowed half of the people inside the restaurant. So he's not going to be able to, he's not going to need so many workers right now. So we're going to only be limited to 2 days per week until we're allowed all these people back in again.
Can you make sure that your days to work are on the days when there's supposed to be an exchange?
I could work something out with my boss. Um, I mean, yeah, I could probably talk to him and figure something out. I mean, I can't talk to him right now just because, you know, he's busy at the moment. So I just have to get back with you in a few days with that.
Um,
Because I mean, the
Are-
schedule hasn't even been out yet. Why isn't this working?
All right, well, I'm gonna fix this order to address the situation of when you're not working, but you absolutely do need, as soon as you know that you're not working,
Yeah.
you need to let Mr. Mockridge know so that he can plan. He can't just hop in the car and drive the boys. He's gotta make arrangements with somebody else to drive them. That's
Okay.
a reasonable request. Hopefully, you'll be able to schedule yourself so that on the days that you're doing these exchanges are days that you're working. All right, so let me go back through these specific complaints. I agree with Mom that on the day that there was a snow day, it was reasonable for her not to be driving them with her at work. If she wants to risk her own health and safety by driving in bad roads, I understand, but not putting the boys at risk for that, I think that's
Weather's not an
reasonable.
excuse in the friend of the court handbook, though. It's clearly stated in the handbook, weather is not an excuse for not dropping off the children.
An hour.
As to her complaint about the incident on May 4th, I'm not finding a violation there either. I'm also not finding violations on March 27th or April 11th. She didn't utilize daycare on those days. She took the boys to work with her. Similarly, you take them to work with you. I'm not finding violations there. What actually happened on the 14th? where she said if you want the boys, you can come and get them. Did you come and get them?
Of course I did.
All right.
I've
So
never
you
missed
weren't
one.
denied parenting, you weren't denied parenting time,
But
but
the
you had to
order
make a
was
trip that
violated.
you,
That's the issue. She just does what she wants. And when we came in here to get this order changed, the consent one, I consented to everything. And before that, there was 5 parenting time complaints before that. They just get blown off, the order gets changed, and now it's happening again. I just want the order followed. That's all I'm asking.
all right, and I will clarify the order based, as I've indicated on the record today. I think the order contemplated that this would happen on days that she worked. She didn't work. It was a circumstance that wasn't contemplated. I will issue an order consistent with my ruling today. That concludes our hearing. Have a good day.
Thank you.